Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a July reading wrap up. So, some statistics for you. I read 15 books this month. Some of them were audiobooks. I think a lot of them are actually audiobooks. I feel like I had an average rating of 3 stars, which is pretty typical for me. And most of them were romance books because summer equals romance. So, I guess we'll just jump into the books that I read. So the first book I read was The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. And this one, I think I actually did listen to it on an audiobook, and I really liked the narrators. So, basically what this book is about, this girl has a sick dad, and the girl wants to be like a screenwriter. And so, like, she writes scripts all the time and stuff, and she has a friend who works in Hollywood. And the friend is like, hey, you know this super famous screenwriter that you've seen literally everything he does and you absolutely love everything he does? Yeah, well, he's writing a romance, and he needs a ghostwriter for it because it's absolutely trash. And she's like, I can't leave my dad. And he's like, it's your sister's turn to watch him. So, basically, she ends up going to California, and all this stuff ends up happening, and it was really good. I really liked it. I liked the way that their relationship developed. I felt like it was a really good pacing, and I just love the way Catherine Center writes people, because she makes them all like so realistic. They're so fun, and I really don't know like what else to say about this book. It was really good. I gave it 4 stars, and I finished it on the 4th. Oh, another thing. In this book, she brings in Jack Stapleton, I think that's his name, from The Bodyguard. So there's a little cameo in there, which is cute because I absolutely loved The Bodyguard by her. I think I gave it 5 stars. So, this is the 3rd book by Catherine Center I've read, and I've liked them all. So, she's probably going to be like an auto read for me. I need to go back and read the other books that she's written, because I'm pretty sure she has a few, and like one of them is a Netflix show. So, anyways, 4 stars for The Rom-Commers. Also, sorry if you can hear the rain outside. It's literally been raining here like all week pretty much. And it's not like pouring, but it's definitely heavier than a sprinkle, and I feel like you might be able to hear it hitting the trees. So, if you hear something, it's rain. I love the rain though, so I'm cool with it. Anyways, next I read Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams, and I gave this one 5 stars, which I also gave the first one, When in Rome, 5 stars. I love Annie Walker. I love Annie so much, and oh my gosh, this book was so good. Annie and Will are perfect together. Absolutely love it. So basically, this book is the second in a connected like series, but you can do them as standalones. They're not as good. So basically in this story, Annie is, oh my gosh, what is his name? Okay, basically in this story, Annie is the sister of the main guy in the first book, and I think she's the youngest sister. She's the goody two-shoes of the town, never does anything wrong, all that kind of stuff. And Will, the main guy, is the bodyguard for Amelia in the first book, and he's like the bad boy, all of that kind of stuff. So like, good girl, bad guy combo. Basically he is teaching her how to date, because like she's never really dated anybody and she doesn't know how to date people, so he teaches her, and obviously they're gonna fall in love, because why wouldn't they? But this book was so good. The way she writes these characters is like amazing. I love Annie so much. Annie is so relatable, and like her crash out was so valid. Like, she freaks out on everybody because like they keep calling her like the goody two shoes, Little Miss Perfect, and like she's like, stop calling me that, like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, you're so real for that. And then Will hates Rome, Kentucky. He's like, there's nothing to do here, it's so boring, blah blah blah, I'm gonna leave after Amelia's wedding. Do you think he's gonna leave after Amelia's wedding after everything that's happened with Annie? That's up to you to decide. And he owns a flower shop too, which is super cute. I love it. The back of it, there's like a little blurb thing at the top, and it says, a small town sweetheart and an emotionally unavailable bad boy try to find some common ground in this chemistry-filled romance. Which, yeah, basically. He's like the tattooed bodyguard, and like there are like BuzzFeed articles about him and stuff. And nobody in town wants them to be together. They're like, if you hurt our Annie Walker, you're dead to us, all that stuff. So, super cute. I do recommend starting with the first book though if you haven't read it, because it just sets up everything so much better for this one. I forgot to say, I gave this one 5 stars, which is what I also gave the first one in the series. The next book I read was Part of Your World, and that was an audiobook, so I don't have a copy of it. And I read that because I've read almost all of Abby Jimenez's books, and I wanted to finish out that little series. And I'm trying to remember. I think it was fine. I gave it 3 stars, so it like wasn't my favorite thing ever. I don't know. I felt like there really just like wasn't much happening. The progression of their relationship was pretty confusing to me, and I don't know. It wasn't bad. It was definitely not the worst book I've read by her. We'll get to that one. Yeah, there was another book on here that was worse. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't as good as Yours Truly or Just for the Summer. Those 2 books were like top tier, so good, and this one was just like, I don't know, but it was also obviously written before these 2 books, so I'll give her some grace. But basically, Part of Your World, it's an age gap romance, and this girl gets stranded in a small little town in Minnesota or something after a funeral, and this guy saves her, and she stays the night with him. She leaves in the morning because she's going through a breakup. She's going through a breakup with this guy who she works with because she's a doctor. He's a doctor. She doesn't like tell her friends about this new guy because like he's so young. He's like 28 and she's like 39 or something like that. And she's like, I'm scared about what they'll think because he's just a poor guy who owns a little like bed and breakfast in this small town of nowhere. And basically, that's pretty much it. Yeah, it was fine. 3 stars. The next book I read was Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams, and this one is the 3rd book in the When in Rome series, and there's going to be one more because there's one more sister. But this one was about Emily Walker and a guy named Jack. So Emily and Jack work together at an elementary school, and they don't get along. They have like the biggest rivalry ever. Jack ends up leaving to move somewhere with his like girlfriend, and then they get engaged, and then it's like the wedding didn't happen and no one knows why. And Emily is a secret writer and he's a secret writer. She accidentally sends her manuscript to her boss who's obviously like the principal, and she's like, oh my gosh, I need to get that back. Jack helps her get it back, and it was fine. I just felt like the development of their relationship wasn't very realistic. I don't know. There was just something a little off about it. I don't really remember what. I'm gonna see if I wrote it in my review. Okay, so I said that the pacing was just all over the place, which is very true. It was literally so like back and forth. And I said that they didn't seem very realistic together. Like, you wouldn't have put them 2 together at all. It didn't feel like they matched. And I don't know, I just felt like for a book that's this long, there should have been more happening. There was obviously stuff happening, but it just didn't feel like there was enough going on. And I kind of wish we got a little bit more about Jack. Because, like, obviously there were a few chapters in his point of view, but, like, we really didn't get that much about him. So, that's why I gave this one 3 stars. The next book I read was Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, and I actually listened to this one on Audible, and it was not good at all. I was very disappointed. This was a book club book that me and my friend do together, and she really liked it. I really didn't. I gave it 2 stars, and I'm going to pull up the review just because I feel like I had a lot to say about it. Okay, yeah, I had a lot to say. So I'm going to read off my review. Because, there's no spoilers, and then I'll give you, actually, so basically the story is about a guy who, he went camping in his backyard with one of his friends, like 30 years ago. And when he woke up in the morning, the friend was missing. The friend was never found again, and basically, like, he can't remember that night. And he ends up, like, moving back to the town where it happened. And he's, like, just trying to jog his memory about what happened, and it's basically, yeah, it's basically like a memory loss mystery. So, I said, I wasn't sure if I didn't like the book a ton because of the narrator, because that narrator, I'm sorry, was so bad. He could not do character voices at all, and I was like, for a book that has so many different characters, you need to be able to do different voices, and he just couldn't. So that was one thing. The whole thing was very confusing. It felt like the book just kept repeating itself, and random characters would appear and then disappear. And also, just so you know, it's low-key like a ghost book. There's like some ghost stuff in it, which I was not expecting. And with the book like repeating itself, since it's a like memory loss book, you're gonna get the same scenes over and over and over, which gets really annoying because you're like, okay, we get it. Like, you don't remember what happened, we get it. Stop telling us the same thing over and over. The main character, so annoying, so unlikable. The way the relationships evolved was so unrealistic, and it honestly just felt like nothing happened in the story, and then bam, you're like, how did we even get to the end? And the thing that happened, like, the mystery that was solved wasn't even a good solve. Like, I feel like I would have changed what happened because, like, it was just not good at all. So, if you like this book, all power to you. I did not, and I don't think I'm ever going to recommend this book to someone, which is so upsetting because I feel like people love this author, and I was really excited for this, and, like, I even have Middle of the Night. No, that's what this is. I even have The Only One Left on my TBR. So I'm hoping that one will be better than this one, because this just did not do it for me at all. Okay, so the lighting is different because both of my batteries died and I needed to charge them. So it's a few hours later. But the next book I read was Maybe in Another Life, and if you've watched the movie Look Both Ways on Netflix, that's basically what this is. So you have a main girl who's 29. She moves back home to California, and her friend and her friend's husband decide to, like, throw a party to celebrate her coming back. At the end of the party, she can either stay at the bar and hang out with her high school boyfriend, or go home with her friend and her friend's husband. And then from there, it shows, like, the two different pathways of what would have happened after each one. And it was actually, like, super interesting, and I liked how the chapters just, like, changed. It didn't tell you, like, which timeline you were in. Like, you kind of just had to figure it out from, like, listening to it or reading it. And I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It was really good. I was honestly really surprised, and I wish that I picked it up earlier to read. I don't know why I was pushing it off, but definitely recommend this one. It was super good. Okay, the next book I read was The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, and that one I listened to as an audiobook. I gotta say, that so far is one of my least favorite books I've read by her. And it might just be, like, that series that I don't like, because I really didn't like the Happily Ever After playlist either, and this one is the first book in that series. But basically, it's about this girl who she's friends with another girl, and that girl's husband is a firefighter. And then a new firefighter comes in, and the original girl and that guy, like, click, but she has, like, major fertility issues, and she finds out that the new guy, like, wants to have a huge family, all that kind of stuff. So she, like, can't let herself, like, fall in love with him. He ends up basically, like, living with her for some reason, and they fall in love, but she's like, I can't do it. And she doesn't tell him the reason why she can't be with him. So he's, like, confused, and, like, I don't know. It was very messy. And again, the pacing of the relationship was just not very good at all. So it got 2.75 stars. I honestly feel like I could rate it a little lower, just because it didn't feel very good. Like, I was pretty bored throughout all of it. So, I don't know. The next book I read was Dial A for Aunties, and this book was actually very surprising to me. I tried reading it a few years ago and I didn't get very far into it and I just like DNF'd it. I was like, I'm just not going to read it. I decided to request the audiobook on Libby and I got it. So I listened to it. And the beginning of it was slow for a little bit just because it's giving you like the background of her family, the dynamics and all that. And then it picked up and it was literally like nothing what I was expecting it to be. But basically, there's this one girl, she has 3 aunts and her mom, I think. She basically ends up killing this guy and she doesn't know what to do, so she gets her aunt's help. And they're like all in the wedding business. They have a business together that includes like florals, cakes, hair and makeup, photography. And it's basically just following along what they do to cover up this murder that happened. And like it's not just a murder, there's romance, there's like obviously the mystery. There's just so many different things in it that like you don't expect to be in it when you first start it. So it was really good. After I got past that first little slow part, it was really good. There's also dual timeline in here, which I wasn't expecting, but I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. The next book I read was The Trial of the Sun Queen, and I got this one like maybe a month ago on the buy one get one half off table at Barnes, because like any kind of book that has trials in it, I'm gonna eat it up. I love a book that has trials. When I was reading the reviews, a lot of people said that this was giving like off-brand Throne of Glass, which it slightly does, but it also like doesn't exactly match that vibe. So basically, you have this girl who is a prisoner, and you don't know why she's in jail, but she's in this like underground prison. I pictured it as like the Dauntless housing in Divergent, because it was just like very underground in the rocks, like all of that stuff. And basically she gets sent to this pit because she started a fight with somebody, and then something like magically takes her out of it, and she wakes up in a fancy palace and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm dead, like where am I, what is this, no one's telling her anything. And she finds out she's in the Sun Queen trials, and basically like there's a bunch of like history related to that and like why they took her. And if you win the trials, or like the 2 finalists or something, whoever completes the last trial will go to stand in front of this mirror that will tell them if they're meant to be the Sun Queen or not. And so that's basically what it was about. And there's a twist in here that they talk about pretty frequently, and obviously I caught on to the twist pretty early just because like it was pretty obvious to me, but it was still a really fun book. I really liked it a lot. Super interesting, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Okay, the next book I read was Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings, and this was a new release on, I think, July 15th is when it came out, and I started reading it immediately. A lot of people in the like Goodreads review were saying that it was basically another story of Magnolia and BJ from the Magnolia Park series, which I do agree with, although I think I like this couple more than Magnolia and BJ. So we have Isolde, and she is this like world famous model, and then we have Joa, who is a musician. And basically she loves, like, Jessa loves to use the term like undoing. They're her undoing, she's his undoing. And so the back of this is like she wasn't supposed to meet someone like him, he wasn't supposed to be her undoing. Basically, you're in the 90s. He has a lot of habits that BJ has, and it's just not very good for her, and like he's gonna end up ruining her image, basically, because she's seen as like this good girl, she's a model, all this stuff, and he's like a bad boy rock star. So you're literally just like following that around. So it very much is like Magnolia Parks, actually, now that I think of it. There is going to be a second book to it, which I don't know when that's coming out, but apparently Jessa Hastings wrote this in 30 days, and a lot of people were like, it was obvious. Take that how you want. I gave this book 3.25 stars. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. I think it's better than the Magnolia Parks, at least the Magnolia Parks side of that series, but not nearly as good as The Conditions of Will, which I was hoping it'd be more similar to that. But also there's been a lot of controversy over the cover of this. Some people like really hate it, and I really like all her covers, honestly. I think they're really fun. Next, I read The Way I Am Now, which is the second book to The Way I Used to Be. I've had this one on my list for a while, and I don't know why I pushed it back. I think I tried reading it once and it was just like really slow to get into. So I did the audiobook for this one, and it was pretty good. It wasn't bad. It was basically just like the second half of what happens after. It's basically the aftermath of what happened in the first book. So in this book you deal with Eden going to college. She reconnects with Josh. So Eden goes to college, she reconnects with Josh, and you're following that love story unraveling while Eden is also going to trial for everything that happened to her. So you're just following that and like mentally how she copes with everything, and Josh is going through things. So it's just like, it's really just a second book to close out the way the first book was. I didn't think it was bad. A lot of people weren't fans of it, but I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I thought it was a great way to wrap up the series, and I thought that it was a really good way of showing you what happens after when like someone goes through what she went through, kind of. The next book we have is Radiant Shadows, and I ended up DNFing this book. I tried the audiobook of it and I got 11% through, and I was just not feeling it at all. Basically, like, I don't think I could even tell you what it's about. I don't really know. I'm pretty sure it's like in a series, and it's not the first book, so that probably didn't help at all. But basically what I heard was this girl goes to this realm. I don't know how she gets there, but she goes to a realm and she runs into this guy who's supposed to be the queen's protector. And then she's like, you're supposed to grant me 3 wishes. And he's like, I guess I am. And so one of her wishes is for him to protect her. And that's the prologue. And then you jump forward in time and you run into this girl who is in this like dog wolf biker gang thing where they go out and hunt things, and they fuel their energy with hunting and love, and I don't even know. And then you jump to another side and there's like these different like realms, and they each have a queen, and like there's different seasons and different queens for each season, and it was just way too confusing. So I was like, you know what, I'm trying to learn how to DNF books this year, so I'm gonna DNF this one. I just was not a fan of it. It really made no sense to me at all. And then I read While We Were Dating, and this book, I think I had higher expectations for it because I love a fake dating book, and I feel like typically you can't really do fake dating wrong, but somehow this author did do that. They didn't start fake dating until about halfway through the book, which is basically like, you're basically like 200 pages into this book. Not really, more like 150, but still. You're 150 pages into this book before they even start fake dating, and I'm like, literally the whole point of this is fake dating. Like, why aren't you dating yet? So I didn't like that. Basically what this book is about, you have Ben, which is the guy, and then you have Anna. Anna is famous. Ben works for this like advertising agency, and they are pitching to Anna an ad that they want her to do, and he's the one pitching it, and Anna's like, I'll accept, but only if he's the one leading the campaign. And they're like, okay, great. They end up having a little fling, and then she fake dates him for PR for like one of her movies or something. There were so many like little side plots in here that didn't make sense to me, and that like, I don't know, like I was like, why did you put this in here? This has no effect on the story at all. Like, this isn't doing anything to strengthen the story. It's just honestly like, you're just trying to make the book longer, I feel like. So I didn't really enjoy this one, and I gave it 2.5 stars. And then the next book I read was 1,000 Boy Kisses. And this one I tried reading in high school and I DNF'd it just because I was like, this is so slow. So this time around, I listened to the audiobook of it, and it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't good. It felt very like middle school relationship vibes, and the ending, I was like, we didn't need that ending at all. Why did that happen? And like, why did it happen, you know? If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, because I'm like really trying not to spoil it. But it's basically about this boy and this girl. The guy is from like Sweden, somewhere like that. Where is he from? Norway. Okay. So the guy is from Norway. The girl lives in Georgia. When they're like 5 years old, the guy moves to Georgia with his family. They're neighbors, they meet, they fall in love, little. And then I think when they're like 13, 14, his family moves away. And then they end up moving back when they're like 16. And the girl and the guy reconnect, and you're basically just following her completing the task of getting 1,000 boy kisses. And I don't know, this didn't need to be written, I feel like, and a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, it was so sad, I cried the whole time. I'm just like, what did you cry about? Like, maybe I'm just not emotional at all, or like I don't feel things, but this just, I don't know, it was like, yeah, it was sad, but it wasn't gonna make me sit there and cry or sob. So I gave this one 2.5 stars because, like I said, I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. And then the last book I read this month was Made for Each Other by Lynn Painter, and this was a new release. It came out on July 15th. I think that's the correct date. It released the same day the Jessa Hastings books. Oh my gosh. It released the same day the Jessa Hastings book did. There we go. I love Lynn Painter. I will read every book she writes just because I love her that much. But basically, you have Abby and Declan. Declan's a rich billionaire, Abby's a maid. They fake date. This one, they start fake dating like 10 pages in. I'm like, that is how you do it. You start us off early. So we just jump straight in because she's a maid, obviously. She works for this company and they clean his building. And apparently her apartment has like some kind of infestation, and so she knows he's out of town because that's the only time he schedules them to clean. So she's like, oh, I'll just stay at his apartment, like, what harm will that do? He'll never know I was there. I'll just get up and clean it. Nobody will know I was there, nothing's wrong. She wakes up in the morning, walks out, his parents are in the living room. And she's like, oh, hi, I'm Abby. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're his girlfriend. Because apparently he made a fake girlfriend named Abby. So you're basically following that, and oh my gosh, I love the way Lynn Painter writes her female characters because they're so lovable and relatable and real, and it was so good. And she doesn't really do like third act breakups. She does like some kind of small conflict, but they work through it almost immediately, which I really like. So I gave this one 4 stars. And it was just so good. To do a little recap, my highest rated book was Practice Makes Perfect at 5 stars, and my lowest was Middle of the Night at 2 stars. So this month was filled with lots of romance books just because, to me, summer is the time to read romance books. So I got through a lot of those. Yeah, that's just what my month of reading looked like. There was a lot of audiobooks. A lot of these were audiobooks on Libby, just because I drive so much to work, and that's like the only time I listen to audiobooks really. But yeah, that I think was 15 books this month. So I'd say that's a pretty good month for me. But if you've read any of these books, let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of them, and I will see y'all next week in another video.